Hi everyone, I'm Catherine, and with Swoosh English, today we're going to be talking about the academic IELTS writing Task 1. So last week we had a look at an overview of the writing paper. Today we're focusing specifically on the academic paper and on Task 1. So, basic information about Task 1. You have 1 hour for the writing paper as a whole and 2 tasks to do in that time. It's up to you to split up your time and cover both tasks, but due to mark weighting, it is advisable to spend a maximum of 20 minutes on Task 1. Task 2 is worth double the marks, so should receive double your attention. Task 1 is basically testing your ability to analyse, select and report relevant information from some kind of pictorial information you are given. Another important thing to kind of stress is you are not expected to have any specialist knowledge. You do not need any outside or previous knowledge in order to be able to complete the task. Everything you need to write the task is given to you. And you must write at least 150 words. That's a very basic thing. And there's a huge variety of different question types you could be given, including pie charts, line graphs, bar charts, processes, life cycles, or comparison diagrams. The main thing is to know the types of question you could be asked and to understand how to structure your answer and how to select the information no matter what kind of task you receive. So, let's have a look at the question types. So, you could have any of the following. Bar chart or bar charts, could be plural. Pie chart or pie charts. Line graphs, again. Process, this basically is a series of steps which describes a process by which something is made or produced usually. Or a life cycle of some kind of animal. Or a comparison diagram, usually a before and after. And the most important thing to realise is it could be a combination of any of the above. You could be given a bar chart and a table. You could be given a life cycle followed by a process. Just be aware of the different types you could be given and be aware that it could come in any combination. So, first piece of advice would always be don't panic. It's a lot easier than it looks. All of the information you need is given to you. So take a minute in the exam, take a deep breath, and just really look at what you are being asked to do. Number one thing is read the question at least twice. Don't jump into writing. The information is being given to you and you have to answer the exact question you are given. So take the time, understand the information, and understand what you are being asked to do. So, the other thing is to understand the tense. If you're given, let's say, a line graph that starts in 1950 and goes up to 1990, nice and easy, it's all in the past. You can obviously talk in the present tense as the information is in front of you. So the line graph shows is completely fine. However, be really careful in case you have, 3 pie charts, 1980, 2000 and 2020 predicted. In this case, you've got 2 past tense with correct information and 1 prediction for the future. So do be aware when the dates are and what tense you should be talking in. Then is to try and understand the diagrams and to pick out the most important sections. And you start by writing the overview paragraph. There's no such thing as an introduction per se in this. The introduction is for the essay. But you do need an overview paragraph. This is when you basically paraphrase the question, show you understand what you are being given, and give a 1-sentence overview of what you are being asked to look at. As you start writing, always making sure it answers the question. So every time you write, refer back to the picture, refer back to the question, and check it makes sense in that context. And again, it's not really a conclusion, but your concluding sentence should always refer back to the overview and the question, the general thing you were being asked to do. And as always, you must proofread. Always leave a few minutes at the end to double check. That's your spelling, grammar, coherence, does it make sense? You know what you are trying to say, but the examiner needs to be able to understand it very clearly as well. And always making sure you have answered the question. So, let's have a look at how to understand the task. This is an example from a past paper of Cambridge, 2 pie charts and a question for you to consider. Let's have a look at kind of the important things to realise when you are faced with this in the exam. There are 2 pie charts. You must talk about both. They are both in the past, 2003 and 2013. So this is actual statistical information from the past. You can speak in the present tense because they're in front of you, or in the past tense because these are past events. And another important thing with the pie charts, they are 2 separate years. You compare 2003 to 2013. You're not talking about an overall process or trends or changes. It's just this and this. And another important thing to really pick out of the title is talking about online sales for retail sectors in New Zealand. If you start talking about people going to their local shops, it's incorrect. You've misunderstood the question and it's not answering the question. Equally, it's in New Zealand specifically, you should mention that, and there are 4 separate categories we are looking at: travel, film and music, books, and clothes. And all of the information given is in percentages. Really important not to just talk about prices, the cost of things, not to talk about unit sales. It is always in percentage. So, when you're given the question, take a few minutes and kind of break it down. Where is it? When is it? What's the tense? Exactly what are you being asked to consider? What categories and how is the information being represented? And remember, if you want any help with your IELTS preparations and you want to progress with a highly experienced UK IELTS teacher, you can go to the website or email Alex directly to get some answers to any questions you may have. So, thinking about exactly what I mean by important. Important generally refers to the superlatives. You're looking for the highest, the lowest, the biggest, the smallest, or anything else that is surprising or noteworthy. So if everything's going up and one is going down, that's unusual. That should be something you should mention. And it also means things that are similar or can be grouped together. So you are being marked on your ability to select, group, report the relevant information. If there are 2 pieces of information that are very similar, you can group them together and refer to them as so-and-so and so-and-so. Both showed an upward trend until, like that, you can group. And important definitely does not mean your personal opinions. Just because you think it's unusual that clothes were the most bought thing in New Zealand in 2013, it is not something you should write about. You're writing about the unusual, the highest, the lowest, the anomalies, things like that. So, let's have a look at an example answer from a student. This is about the New Zealand sales one. So, the 2 pie charts show some info about sales in New Zealand between 2003 and 2013. Some sales went up and some went down. I like buying clothes and so do lots of other people, so that's why clothes sales increased. I think people stopped travelling so much, which is why travel-related sales went down. Also, it's expensive to fly anywhere from New Zealand, so that's probably what happened. I think travel will increase though, as everyone likes going on a holiday. Films and music are easy to download for free, or there's always the radio, so I think it's surprising that sales went up so much. Take a couple of minutes and flick back to the question and then compare it to this answer and see what you think potentially is good and what you think could have been done a lot better. So pause the video and do that. We'll carry on and discuss it. The grammar itself isn't actually that bad, it's pretty well written. The main things that they have done wrong though. Remembering your writing should always be formal, so info and contractions, no. Information and never use contractions, it should be the full words. They've got New Zealand correct. They've got sales correct, but no mention of online. That should be definitely in there, just online sales. And they've also said between 2003 and 2013. It's not too bad, but technically it's not precise enough. There are sales in 2003 and sales in 2013. It's not saying the sales between the two. And you have to be a bit more precise, so just saying some sales went up and some went down isn't really enough. Specify. Personal information or personal opinions are completely irrelevant. So, I like buying clothes? No, we don't care. We don't need to know that. Only work from the information you were given in the information. Again, it's expensive to fly anywhere from New Zealand? No, not relevant. Don't say what you think will happen in the future. Again, not relevant. You should never have reasons behind it. Just discuss the specific factual information you are given. So, let's have a look at a slightly better example. Let's call this the model answer. It is well structured, it's the correct number of words, and it does answer the question. So, the pie charts show the proportion of online sales, tick, you've said online, for travel, film or music, books and clothes in New Zealand in two selected years, 2003 and 2013. All you have done in this first sentence is basically rephrase the question and specify that you have understood the very specific information you have been given. Followed by a sentence, in general, travel and film and music made up the largest proportion of the total online sales in the 2 years shown. This is just an overview, very nice and simple, one sentence showing you've understood the diagrams, one sentence giving an indication of the overall trends. Then we move on to the body. In 2003, 36% of the total sales were travel related, which was the largest proportion of online sales that year. However, by 2013, there had been a decrease of 7%, which resulted in travel becoming the second biggest contributor to online sales, having been overtaken by film and music. The second largest sector in 2003 was clothes, which accounted for 24% of overall sales. A decrease of 8% could be seen in online clothes sales by 2013, whereas online book sales remained fairly steady. In this, you've directly compared the 2 years. You've talked about the biggest ones, which compared to which were the biggest ones in the second year, and you have specific percentages. You don't have to talk about every individual percentage. It's about the biggest, the lowest, the unusual ones, and the differences between the 2 years. Followed by a concluding sentence. Overall, the two charts show similar results. The most drastic change was in film and music, which had experienced an increase of 12% by 2013. No opinions, no conclusion as such, just a concluding sentence to say overall what happened and to illustrate the biggest changes. So, that in a nutshell is what you have to do for part 1. Take the time to understand what the question is asking and pick out the very specific information, and then just structure it like this. 2-sentence overview paragraph, body where you talk about in more detail the specifics and the unusual, the highest, the lowest, and the differences. And then a concluding sentence just to give an overview at the end. Nice and simple, nothing too drastic, and the good thing is there's no real planning in terms of structure, and you don't need to think of any arguments like in the essay, you just use the information you are given. So, don't panic, take some time to look at some example questions and break it down and think exactly what you would do in the time. And above all, practice writing these. They are very, very possible to do in 20 minutes. It's just a question of practice and getting used to the different kinds of questions you may experience in the exam. So I hope that helped and you're a little clearer on what's expected in task 1. And I'll see you again next week where we'll be looking at another aspect of the writing exam. And always remembering, if you want to have more help with your IELTS preparations, you can go to our website or contact Alex directly at the email given. So I'll see you next week where we'll have a look at another aspect of the writing. Goodbye.